back to Better Kansas City. Now, when to send them, what to include, and how to say it. We've got all the important info you need to know before mailing out that wedding invitation. We have wedding guru Michael Nolte here with us now, and he has all the answers. It's a common time at the beginning of the year with the holidays. You get engaged, and now we got to start thinking about what to do to prepare for the wedding. Wedding invitations are a big thing. Let's start off with common mistakes that people make when it's time to do this. So what are some of the common mistakes we can avoid? Yeah,
Bill, 70% of the engagements have happened between Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and Valentine's Day. So invitations are one of the first things that people start thinking about as they do their master guest list. Some of the most frequent mistakes are things like how to spell the word honor. It's not H-O-N-O-R.
We want to use the Old English.
Old English, H-O-N-O-U-R.
More vowels.
Absolutely, exactly. And it's important to know that the people who are hosting the wedding, i.e. paying for the wedding, those should be the names at the top.
Okay.
There should never be any abbreviations, so things like middle names should be spelled out, and things like street, lane, avenue, terrace, boulevard, drive, spelled out.
What about like Mr. and Mrs.? That should be all spelled out as well? Or?
Always should have titles, exactly. The term MS is not used in social correspondence as only corporate correspondence. So if someone is unmarried, they are listed as MISS.
Okay, and then speaking of times, so what time is the wedding? How should those be listed on the invitation?
Right. If the wedding is not on the hour, then the time is not listed as 5:30, 5 o'clock, but it should always be half after 6 o'clock in the evening.
Really? I had no idea there was such a precise way to put the time for your wedding. You just, hey, show up at 5:30, we're getting hitched. So we shouldn't do that, right?
No, you probably should not do that. Not for a formal invitation anyway.
Okay, what about when doing the date, the year, or the word "and" in the year that
That's
you're
another
married?
little piece that I always remind brides of, is that it should not say 2019, it should be 2019.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go back to talking some more about, you've brought some examples here in picking some stationery to send out. What decisions or how many decisions are there we should make when it comes to stationery?
It's shocking that there are 17 decisions to make.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's kind of
I'm glad I met you now and not 13 years ago when we were planning our wedding. So
well, you know,
maybe my wife doesn't, but that's another story.
I'm sure it was beautiful, and obviously the knot has been tied very appropriately. Right. There we go. But no, I mean, do you want the invitation to be a vertical presentation like this, or do you want it to be horizontal? What color of ink do you want it to be? Pick out your fonts. How do you want it worded? Do you want single or double envelopes? And so the list goes on in choosing wedding stationery. And just, you know, a part of what I love to do as a wedding coordinator is guide people through the landmine-filled journey of wedding stationery selection.
Landmine is not an understatement, I don't think. All right, well, I've always wondered, you've got the tissue over here.
Right.
And what is the purpose of this little piece of tissue? Because when I see now, my wife and I are different. When I open a wedding invitation, it's like, and then like, oh, hey, look, we got to put something on the calendar because on Saturday the 13th we're going to a wedding.
It's a touchy-feely, tactile kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the purpose of the tissue originally was when inks were very slow drying, and the tissue that was on top helped to keep the ink from smearing.
Oh, so it's more of a traditional type thing.
It's a traditional type thing, and now it's considered really just a nice touch.
Yeah.
So just as you would give a nice wedding gift or a Christmas present to someone, there's usually tissue paper in the box. This tissue serves no purpose other than to just have that nice touch. So always insist from wherever you buy your wedding invitations that they add tissues into them.
Really?
Because they don't always come with tissues unless the bride requests it.
It's just kind of a neat carryover traditional type thing. Almost like, you know, there's something, what's the something new, something used, something blue, something whatever it is.
And borrowed.
And borrowed.
So they hold something new, something borrowed, something blue.
That's why you're the wedding coordinator and I just talk on TV about traffic, and I hang out at this show every once in a while. So also real quick, before we let you go, children on the invitation, how do we include them? Do we include them? What are kind of the ground rules for that?
Yeah. Do we have to have kids at weddings? That's what most couples are asking me. Yeah, the answer would be really no, unless you can avoid them, or they are family members that have to be included.
Okay.
The key thing is that with children included in wedding invitations is that you cannot use the phrase Mr. and Mrs. John Smith and family. It has to say Mr. and Mrs. John Smith and then list the children's names in birth order and first names. Wow. An example of that was one that was sent to my wife and I at the top, and on this inner envelope, now again, this is the inner envelope.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's quite some calligraphy.
That calligraphy is insane.
And this is done by a guy we have here in Kansas City named Michael Nolte, and he only addresses wedding invitations anymore for our customers, so I'm very honored that he does. He's one of the top 4 calligraphers in the United States.
Wow.
He does work for the Smithsonian and the White House.
Oh, well, I have so many other questions, Michael, that I wish I could sit here and talk to you about, but we're out of time, unfortunately. So thank you for lending some advice and lending some notes for the wedding invitations.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of the first steps in planning weddings, and that's what we talk about all year long as we piece together wedding planning throughout this coming year.
Well, thank you for being here today. We do appreciate it.
Always my joy.